Hello and welcome to another of my pipe smoking videos. I am smoking today something which I don't really like. I missed, I'd been doing these once a week and I've missed last week's one because during Christmas I was actually very ill with my partner, the lovely Julia. We weren't very well. And I'll tell you about that in a minute regarding pipe smoking. It's a shame because we were going to go away and see some friends over Christmas and towards the end of the new year. Anyway, I'm smoking this tiny little pipe that I quite enjoy, and it's got soccer written on it. I don't know kind of whether it's a Prince or something. It's a little mini thing. I have to say, I saw a pipe on Chris Herriot's pipes the other day when he put a new video, and oh my God, I nearly bought it. I'm having to be a bit careful with the money at the moment. But it was so lovely. It was a lovely pipe. The grain was amazing, and it was I can't remember whether it was a Dublin or something, but it was a beautiful pipe. He makes such excellent pipes. He really does. I did have to check to see if it was still there, but I bet if I look now, it's probably gone anyway. So over Christmas, got ill, and it lingered for about 10 days, this thing, whatever it was, cough on the chest. A lot of people seem to have something over the Christmas period. And of course, I speak a little bit about it on my other channel. And I bought myself a couple of different tobaccos to try over the Christmas period. Well, one of those was one that I spoke about a couple of weeks ago, and that was St. Bruno Flake that somebody had recommended. And to be honest with you, at first I thought it was all right. I thought it was okay. But actually, the more I smoked it, the more it's just like musty old slippers, really. I just didn't enjoy it. And so I bought Galwith's, I think it's Galwith's, Black Forest. Sounded very lovely. You think of the Black Forest Gatto, you think of a nice peaty sort of smoke in a black forest. It sounded lovely, and actually that's what I'm smoking now. Don't like it. I don't like it. I mean, it's not intensely nasty, but it's just doesn't do it for me. And I think that's the first blend that I've had that I really am struggling with. And I bought a couple of other items, and I just don't want to open them in case I don't like them either. And then I've got several tins on the go that I really don't like. And I did think, well, maybe I should immerse this tobacco in some whiskey or something, and then get one of those presses that you see some of these other pipe video channels talk about, and you know, press it for a few months and then try it as a plug, I think they call it. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, I'm just working my way through it. Now, the weird thing was with this cold, I could not smoke my pipe at all. The whole taste buds and everything, the smell, taste buds, and the catarrh on the chest. I don't know if anybody's ever had this, because it was, I went to smoke my pipe thinking, oh, I'm feeling so rough. The one thing I want is a little bit of nicotine inside me to sort of help the immune system. Now, I know a lot of people are sort of a bit wary about this theory, but I think it is true, actually. We do have these nicotine receptors and what have you, and nicotine's been very, very good for us. And without getting too conspiratorial, I think what with all this stuff that's going on with the Sutcliffe, Sutliff, is it Sutliff? Sutcliffe? I always think of Sutcliffe, the Black Panther bloke who went to prison in Yorkshire, but I don't know why. There's no relation whatsoever, but it sort of stuck in my head. Anyway, is it the Scandinavian tobacco companies taken over McBaron's and Sutliff? Is it Sutliff? And a lot of people have been talking about this in the pipe smoking community online. And of course, I'm a bit more conspiratorial than most people and think that this is all part of the great plan to eradicate tobacco from the planet, to stop people from smoking at all. And I think this is all part of it. really. I know that sounds very conspiratorial, as I say, but I do think that is actually connected to it, because tobacco, and particularly nicotine in and of itself, has a lot of good things. The smoke, we can talk about the smoke and whether going into your lungs and stuff. That's another debate. But nicotine is a disruptor of certain toxins. Let's put it like that. It's a disruptor of toxins, so it's actually very good for you. And when I was ill, that's what I wanted to do. And I was smoking this one first, and I thought, my God, this is like smoking a plastic pipe that is melting, and you're inhaling the smoke of pure oil plastic. And it was the most revolting thing. And I tried it each day, and it just would not shift. I tried then St. Bruno, same thing. And I realized it wasn't, I tried it in different pipes. I thought, well, it's not the pipe, it's not the tobacco. It's obviously my reaction with this cold to tobacco. And it was the most abhorrent thing. And I thought, if people wanted to stop you from smoking, that would be the way to taint the tobacco so badly that it gives you that feeling. But it wasn't the tobacco, of course. Now I've got rid of all of that, little bit of the cough that came with the cold, which is virtually gone now, thank goodness. And I can taste the tobacco. And that's where I suddenly started to go, I'm not really enjoying this at all, which is a shame. The St. Bruno I'm enjoying a bit more, but it's not as good as I first thought. So I can't give you any recommendations to try, of course, and it's always a personal taste anyway, isn't it? But it's nice to be able to get back into having a puff. And now I've spoken about this, of course, before, and people may say, well, that was an opportunity, Richard. If you didn't like the flavour and the taste and it was so repellent, you could have given up. I don't want to give up. That's the whole point. I don't want to give up. I'm about a year into smoking pipes. I understand as I mentioned about nicotine and what have you, the benefit from all of that. But more than that, it's that meditative, thoughtful process that it brings to you. And we're in such a busy world. We live in such a busy world. We've been, again, I don't want to get too conspiratorial on this channel, but we have been coerced to work long hours and to busy ourselves, to try and earn money. We've been encouraged to keep up with the Joneses. Everything costs a lot of money. People aren't being paid very much, and they don't just get time now to do nothing, to sort of reset themselves and to think for themselves, to be critical thinkers, to be creative thinkers. We don't get enough time. Pipe smoking is one of those hobbies, if you want to call it a hobby, or a lifestyle choice, or it's a process that in order to enjoy the pipe smoking, you settle and you calm, and it calms you. And I think in a way it's a bit like back in 1645 when coffee was first introduced into the English, into London, and in the English coffee shops started to set up these coffee emporiums. And whereas prior to that, people would gather in the taverns and the inns and so forth, and they would drink the beers, porters and dark ales, warm beers and what have you, and they would put the world to rights. And they may be a bit conspiratorial and complain about how, the governments of the day, or the king, or whatever authority, or the judiciary, or whatever it was, they might and plan a bit of insurrection and things like that. But they got so drunk because of the alcohol in the ale that they, in the morning, they would sort of go, I can't remember what we discussed now. The beer is a soporific drink. Whereas when coffee came and was introduced, of course, it was a stimulant, and people didn't get drunk, and they would have these conversations. And this is where the powers that be got slightly worried, because people were not going home and forgetting what they had discussed with their friends, but adding to it. And so potential plots and insurrection and so on, treasonous talk may well have been going on in a lot more earnest back then. And I think, and that's because people were able to think and sit and cogitate and think and sip over their stimulating caffeine from the coffee. And I think it's the same in a way with pipe smoking, particularly with pipe smoking, that you can, either in groups but on your own too, is you can sit and you can think. And you can think critically, and you can think about your life, and you can think about what's going on in the world, and you pause, and you reassess, and you consider. And it may be that you can mull over your own personal problems, or you can mull over the family problems, or you can decide, you know what I'm doing with my life is a waste of time. What am I doing? I'm chasing this to get that, and that is so little. I could do something much more beneficial with my life. And I think this is, I know this sounds very strange, but again, I think most pipe smokers are, to a greater or lesser degree, people who will pause and think about life, the universe and everything, and make important decisions, or go over things, or will notice things that most people, because they're blinded by mainstream media and the busyness of the world and trying to earn a living left, right and centre. To me, I can sit, and I may not sit, people will meditate and things like that, but with a pipe, I can sit for as long as the bowl will allow me and just think calmly, ponder, use the old cerebral processes up here. And of course I'm writing a book at the moment, and it helps me cogitate with that. And actually, talking to that, I am planning, you should never tell people your plans, of course, because if they don't happen, they always say, well, what happened to that thing? Once I finish this book I'm working on at the moment, I'm thinking that a pipe smoking book would be quite interesting to write. Probably, I don't know, it might be fiction. It might be fictional, because I find fiction is actually a great way of getting points over that nobody can really criticize you with, because it's in a fictitious world, and yet you can say some very difficult, you can argue some very difficult points within a fictional story. And if people read it, of course, then they might go, well, of course that would never happen in real life, but he makes an interesting point. Whereas people can scoff if you write something that is supposedly factual based and people disagree with it, or you get your facts wrong, you can be laughed out immediately. But a fictional thing, you can be evocative. You can suggest things, and I think as I mentioned before, the tobacco industry is going. I watched it down the hill, and it's a bit of a worry for all this resurgence in interest in pipe smoking, and these people who are like Chris, who've turned their lives to making pipes, which I think should continue. These noble professions, like so many of them in the past, are being eradicated, and at this moment in time, more than any other time, we need people who are doing small businesses and running and making things with their hands instead of mass produced stuff, making bespoke objects, whether that be tailoring, pipe making, hat making, anything. It doesn't really matter. Cabinet making. I think more and more we need to see that sort of stuff happening on, and in order to dream up the ideas and to learn and ponder, we need pipe smoking. We need that time to sit and think and cogitate. And I think a book, a short book, it would be a short book, that espouses the benefits of pipe smoking and the thinking, and reading is another thing. Writing books, reading is another thing where people don't read anymore, not in significant numbers, and that is another place where it can take you into a different world, where you think and you follow a story or whatever it is, and you think, well, that's interesting, and it makes you think. It makes we're so led by the commercial media and films and television and Netflix and all of this sort of nonsense, which is all nonsense. What do you get really at the end of all of that? But a good book and a good pipe, you get so much, I think. But then I think at the same time, I'm probably in the small minority of people who believe that and think this way. But that doesn't matter. You know, we're all part and parcel of this great world. And we've all got something to contribute. So there we go. Anyway, I'm not really enjoying this tobacco. So I need to find something else by next week so that I can bring you something which I know I enjoy. But even though I don't particularly like it, my God, it's so much better than what it was tasting when I was ill. Oh, Struth, that was awful. So I'm so pleased to have got my taste buds and my smell back and all of that. And it's so nice at least to be able to have a pipe in my hand and to sort of sit there and cogitate for a bit. Thank you so much for watching. I will hopefully see you next time.